Colorado Governor Jared Polis is calling state lawmakers back here to the Capitol later this month for a special session to address a sudden billion-dollar budget shortfall. Mayor Johnston's announcement that he is moving forward with plans to build a micro-community here on this strip of land at Iliff and Santa Fe in southwest Denver not going over so well with people who live in this neighborhood. I took their concerns to Mayor Johnston. What do you say to them? Because these are very real concerns. Now, that is much lower than the $180 million the city was projecting to spend just back in January, but it still means the city will face budget cuts. He's putting part of the blame on President Trump and on government spending that took place years before he says he took office. But just how much is he to blame? Don't you have a spending problem? With calls for her to resign or to even be charged with a crime. Are you going to resign?
No, I'm not going to resign.
And they worry that DPD is trying to avoid oversight and some accountability.
We need to put a schedule in place that operators can adhere to, that riders can rely on.
What do you say to those concerns? She didn't talk about why the agency had suddenly parted ways with Police Chief Joe Fitzgerald, or when they'll have a replacement. So we asked her. All right, when will RTD have a new police chief?
Thank you.
It's an easy question. It's a question that you would think the leader of RTD would have expected to be asked given the sudden departure of their police chief. For the first time, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston offered specifics about the cost of his plan to get 1,000 people experiencing homelessness off the streets by the end of this year. The mayor says it'll cost $48 million.
We know the strategy works. We know how to pay for it, and we know how to do it within our existing resources.
The city will spend $24 million on converting hotels and nearly $20 million on micro-communities. The city has identified 11 potential sites for those micro-communities. One could go up just a few feet from Joy Fagan's home.
Well, the alley runs here, and my home is just the other side of the alley. So we literally our property sits right adjacent to this.
Joy says she and her neighbors at Santa Fe and Iliff have already been through enough. She says homeless encampments were located on the very site where the city could build a micro-community.
My car was broken into multiple times. We found someone sleeping in my roommate's car.
Like many of her neighbors, she's worried that could happen again if a micro-community is built in their backyard.
So it's not a matter of judgment or a lack of compassion. It's the fact that we have lived this. We've been through it over and over and over again.
Tuesday, I took their concerns to Mayor Johnston. What do you say to them? Because these are very real concerns.
We understand the concerns. We understand the fear.
The mayor says micro-communities are safe. He points to 911 calls. He says while there have been thousands of 911 calls at unsanctioned encampments, there have only been a handful at the city's existing tiny home villages, like the one at 40th and Monroe.
So you're talking about sites that are literally 1/1000th of the safety risk to the community of what the current situation is.
The mayor's office says staff will be on site 24/7 and violence will not be tolerated.
The most dangerous thing for communities would be for us to continue to do what we've done in the past.
Joy and many of her neighbors still have their doubts.
If the mayor doesn't live here, the mayor isn't going to experience those consequences.
They'll be able to share their concerns directly with the mayor at a community meeting Wednesday night. In Denver, Brandon Richard, Denver 7. Well, Mayor Johnston's announcement that he is moving forward with plans to build a micro-community here on this strip of land at Iliff and Santa Fe in southwest Denver not going over so well with people who live in this neighborhood. Some say they are fed up and have had enough.
They already had made up their mind before they even tried to talk to us.
Like many of his neighbors, Johan Stokvis is upset with the city's plans to build a micro-community site for the homeless in his neighborhood.
I think it's a bad decision. It's a bad decision because everybody's negative about it.
Monday, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston announced the city will break ground on the first of what the mayor hopes will be several micro-communities to come on this strip of land along Santa Fe in southwest Denver. The mayor's office says it'll be home to 120 people experiencing homelessness who will receive a variety of on-site services to help them get back on their feet. Micro-communities are one part of the mayor's plan to get 1,000 people off the streets by the end of the year.
I don't want them there. My rights exist as much as anyone else's and each and every one of those people.
Many who live in the neighborhood gave the mayor and his staff an earful at a recent community meeting that grew more tense as it went on. The mayor is trying to reassure people who live near the site that it'll be no threat to their safety. His office says the site will be staffed 24/7.
That's crock of I'm sorry to tell you this. I've seen this before.
Johan says the neighborhood had a bad prior experience with the homeless, with reports of vandalism and drugs. And after 22 years in his home, he says he's simply had enough.
I'm moving.
You're moving.
I'm moving. I have another property, and I'm just going to abandon this house. I'm just going to sit and rot. That's how bitter I am about this whole thing. I'm getting out of Denver.
Given the fact that the micro community will be built just feet from his home, he says it's the only decision that makes sense. In Denver, Brandon Richard, Denver 7.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston is making major last-minute changes to a proposed micro-community site in southwest Denver.
It comes after neighbors shared their concerns with us and just weeks before residents are set to move in. As Denver 7's Brandon Richard shows, it even caught the city council off guard.
Well, the city council hit the pause button on a contract with a potential service provider for a micro-community site planned for southwest Denver that we've been showing you a lot of residents are strongly opposed to. Crews are at work getting the land ready for a micro-community site in southwest Denver. The plans called for 120 people to move to the site next month. Neighbors like Heather Barnes told us that would be a problem.
Only 111 residents live in this quadrant of Overland, so it would outnumber the existing residents here.
She and other neighbors urged the city to reduce the number of people at the site to 60.
There needs to be a balance there. It needs to be a community decision, not the city just telling people what is going to happen in their neighborhood.
Their city council member, Flor Alvidrez, echoed their concerns.
It was a slap in the face that we see in the news the last 3 weeks. This site gets completely nixed in a wealthier community. That site gets completely nixed in a wealthier community. That's my concern. Why is my community not getting listened to the same way other communities are?
Their messages seem to have gotten through. During a council meeting Wednesday, the city's homelessness advisor, Cole Chandler, announced the mayor had decided to reduce the number of people who will move into the site to 60, at least initially.
And then there would be a 30-day pause period before we would even contemplate future expansion.
But what happens after that is unclear. A lot depends on feedback from stakeholders. Because of the last-minute changes, the council decided to delay approving a contract with Colorado Village Collaborative, which will run the site.
It is happening too fast. If all of these things are happening at the last second, it needs to slow down.
The council's housing committee will now vote on an updated contract with the new changes November 29th. In Denver, Brandon Richard, Denver 7. Well, this tiny home unit we're standing in certainly lives up to its name. Not a lot of room in here, but they have an AC and heater. And of course, there is enough room for a twin-size bed. But more importantly, for people experiencing homelessness, it's a roof over their heads. Unlike her neighbor's dog, life hasn't always been kind to Nakaya Holmes, who grew up in foster care.
I jumped around a lot. I'm kind of used to jumping around.
A fight with her family showed her things could always get worse.
And things, spiraled, and then I ended up hospitalized, and then I ended up on the street.
She spent the next 9 months wandering from shelter to shelter, seeing firsthand the human tragedy of homelessness.
There was a lot of things I haven't seen. There was people there that needed help, but nobody was willing to help.
Luckily, a case manager helped her apply for a unit at this tiny home village in Denver. She was approved and moved in this past April.
I get my own little place. I ain't got to worry about nobody. This is nice,
That must have been great walking into your home.
Yes, it was lovely. I was excited.
The village is one of 2 that Colorado Village Collaborative runs, along with 3 safe outdoor spaces. And they were recently selected to run one of Denver's new micro-communities.
The micro-communities look like a sort of a mashup between our tiny home village and our safe outdoor spaces.
The executive director told me they help people set goals to get back on their feet.
And really it's about making progress toward those goals.
Nakaya has made progress.
This place helped me get back into therapy. They helped me find a primary care physician, which is amazing. This place is the reason I'm back in school.
And it's the reason she's one step closer to her ultimate goals, which include someday becoming a foster mom.
I know what it's like. I want them to understand, it's hard, but you'll always have somebody who will support you.
In Denver, Brandon Richard, Denver 7.